So that's how you spell Appaloosa. As the episode begins, we see Applejack and the Cutie Mark Crusaders in Appaloosa for a rodeo. It turns out AJ's filling in for Brayburn, who got injured. And Brayburn actually has a spoken line for the first time since season 1. The Crusaders are back to their usual business, this time trying to compete in the rodeo to see if they can earn their cutie marks. Thankfully, the episode quickly steers away from this story as it turns out there's an outlaw by the name of Troubleshoes who's been ruining every rodeo in Equestria. And this time he almost gets the Crusaders killed. But when they find him, it turns out he's less like Mad Dog Tannen and more like Eeyore. Apparently, he loves the rodeo, but he's just too clumsy for his own good, attributing a lifelong string of bad luck to his cutie mark. But the Crusaders help him realize that while he might not be able to compete, he's perfect as a rodeo clown. Wow, this one is really tricky for me. To begin with, I love that we get to see more of Brayburn. I think he had the potential to be an interesting character before, but he just hasn't had much to do. I'm also not the biggest fan of Western settings, so I was pleasantly surprised that Appaloosa was a lot more visually appealing here than it was in Over a Barrel. And as for the Crusaders, it was definitely the right move to focus on having them help someone else. It doesn't really happen very often, and I think the bait and switch with the initial setup was handled very well. But the main story with Troubleshoes is where things get really interesting. We just had an episode where Luna explained that it was impossible to get the wrong cutie mark, and personally, I was under the impression that a cutie mark doesn't reveal itself until after the pony knows what it means. And yet, it initially looks like that's exactly what happened here. The guy gets his cutie mark without realizing what his talent is. Furthermore, finding out the truth doesn't seem like much of a help at first either. Clowns, like most professional comedians, thrive on getting laughter from the audience. But not only does Troubleshoes not want to be a clown, hearing the other ponies laugh only pisses him off. It kinda looks like he gets used to it after giving it a try for a little bit, but I'm honestly not sure what to think about this. Sure, the cutie mark did lead him to the rodeo, but that's kinda like being an actor who gets hired by a movie studio to be a night janitor. Or maybe you work on a farm, and let's say it's your dream to work with horses. Of course it is, you're watching this video, right? But instead, your job is to collect rooster semen to breed the chickens. In fact, you're the very best rooster semen collector the farm has ever had, so to guarantee the best future for everyone, this is what you have to do. That is a real job, by the way, I didn't just make it up because it sounds funny. So yeah, you're technically in the same field, but you're still doing the opposite of what you want to do. Is that really going to be okay? Isn't this exactly what Apple Bloom was worried might happen in Bloom and Gloom? Not to mention, isn't this exactly what I was talking about in the cutie map? Isn't this the kind of thing that would make a pony want to have their cutie mark removed? In fact, this also reminds me of Magical Mystery Cure. Yeah, remember when Twilight was going around shoving her friends back into their old lives? And we in the audience know that's where they belong, but they don't know that. Well, now, we actually get a more realistic view of what that might look like. Troubleshoes is meant to be a clown, but he doesn't know that, and it actually makes him mad at first. It's almost like he would rather continue to be a clumsy loser who doesn't belong anywhere than to even consider trying this. I gotta say, this was a pretty ballsy move. I'm still not sure what the answer to all this is, and it still kinda feels like it contradicts what we were told in Bloom and Gloom, but it's the most interesting cutie mark episode we've had in a long time, and it really gives me a lot to think about. Appaloosa's Most Wanted gets an 8 out of 10.
The Lord loves a hanging, that's why he gave us necks. It tightens up our vocal cords
and loosens up our picks.
So if you are a horse thief and guilty to the bone, go ahead and blame a friend and you won't hang alone.
Worst idea ever.